For the first time ever, we started seeing that kids were saving money and being able to keep money on their phone, and they actually had an ability to see their money grow if there was a fluctuation in the Bitcoin. My name is Erik Paulson, and we're in El Zonte, El Salvador right now, and just want to kind of give you a little story about the Hope House and kind of my connection with the Hope House and then the connection with Paystand. So my family and I started coming down here about 7 years ago to El Zonte. Fell in love with the community. Well, first of all, we were invited to come down here to help put on a surf camp in the community of El Zonte, and we just did our first camp about 7 years ago. Fell in love with the community. We started kind of volunteering every summer and continually doing surf camps for the community, and it grew into almost like a youth group program for the community, really led by Jorge. Venezuela. He's the lead of our community in the Hope House, and he has just had a heart and a calling to like work with the youth in this community. And I just feel fortunate to be able to be by his side and kind of support him and all the stuff that's been happening. And it grew from, over a decade ago, he felt he had this calling. He had a kid in the community named Dennis, who was his father was arrested, was a gang member and was arrested. And he realized that this kid had no hope. Like he was not going to be able to stay out of the gang system. And so Jorge came alongside him and his family and just felt like this is what he needed to do for a lot of kids in the community that were getting essentially sucked up into the gangs. And when he had that calling, we were able to kind of walk alongside him, and we helped build the organization that we know now as the Hope House by originally transporting kids from El Zonte to high school, which they don't have a high school in El Zonte at the time. Kids stopped going to school around 9th grade. And because they stopped going to school around 9th grade, they really were kind of subject to going to work for either, selling coconuts or doing some other family business that they were kind of maybe going to be stuck in, or worse yet, being sucked into the gangs. So we bought our first truck probably about 6 years ago or so, and we ended up transporting kids from El Zonte to high school. The first year we had about 6 kids, the second semester or second year 16, and then the third we ended up getting 35, where we ended up having to buy another vehicle to transport kids to school. And so that's a little bit of history of my connection with El Salvador, El Zonte, and the Hope House specifically. And it's something that completely brings me joy and peace. So it's an honor to be able to be here and walk alongside people that really give their whole life to this. Bitcoin's fascinating to me. I mean, I'm probably not a Bitcoin expert, but I saw Bitcoin in this community start to be used, and it seemed almost by accident. We had an anonymous donor start to give to the organization, and as he did, he asked that we could make Bitcoin hot, right? And so Jorge, Mike, and Chimbera and the team went to work and started talking to the vendors around town. And really, like, it almost seemed like, everybody else so many people had doubts with it. It just seemed like it wasn't going to work, right? It seemed like such a far-fetched idea. But as vendors started taking it and people started using it on their phone, mostly, as we found out, were kids, because in El Salvador, I think it's 70% of the country is unbanked, where most people in their time, they would have to get paid in cash, stash their cash somewhere, and then be able to make sure that they could use that money and save that money and go pay their bills and do everything that they needed to do. Well, all of a sudden now people have a banking system on their phone. And for the first time ever, we started seeing that kids were saving money and being able to keep money on their phone. And they actually had an ability to see their money grow if there was a fluctuation in the Bitcoin. And so as the transition started happening, it was pretty amazing to see the growth in the community, and then to see other communities start to want to adopt it pretty quickly after El Zonte. I think for me, Paystand, I've just recently got to know several people from the organization, and they're like a dream come true for us, where they see value in the change from the ground up. And I think having an organization come behind us like they are, it's priceless for us. It's really it's a exciting first movement for stuff that's happening on the ground in El Salvador, in El Zonte, specifically with the Hope House. And when we found out Paystand was going to team up with us at the Hope House, I almost didn't believe it. And because I think we've heard this several times, people were going to team up with us. But when Paystand finally did and stepped in and started donating it, and now are here putting together internship programs, I mean, it's like a dream come true for what we've built here and what we wanted to happen. So Paystand to me is like the first step of the dream kind of coming true for us in El Zonte, and having somebody partner with us in a way that no one else has yet. So I think it's going to be tricky for them, because the first time I ever came down here and had an experience in El Salvador, I mean, I'm a pretty passionate person, and I was so excited. And I thought I was going to come back and tell the world what was happening here and how everybody else needed to come down here and change the world as well. So maybe what some of the executives need to know is everyone's not going to want to hear your story, but the couple people that do want to hear your story, take the time, sit with them, and invite them to come back down and have this experience. Because really the best way to understand what's happening is to come here and have the experience.